everybody. This is Friday Night Chats, super duper late.
The late edition.
With Kevin.
And I'm Kelly. This is the Friday, June 18th version on Saturday, June 19th.
Happy Juneteenth. Maybe, yeah.
Happy Juneteenth. So we, to give you a little BTS, we have attempted to record this particular episode of our podcast. This is the fourth time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got some ideas in the works. It's just going to take us a little bit of time to get the wrinkles ironed out. We are finding wrinkles as we go along. So
trying to do something different. Trying to keep it fresh.
Yeah, trying to do something new and different. Our next week's edition should be interesting.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Do we want to say?
Hopefully. Well, we're going to take it on the road.
Yeah.
We're going to do a little on the scene podcasting. We're going to try to change our backgrounds up a little bit.
Yep.
So who knows where we'll end up, but we're trying to get the equipment necessary.
Because first we tried to do it on Kelly's phone. She's got an iPhone, 12?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's problematic to get the videos
when they're that
the
long.
System when they're that long.
Yeah.
And then we decided, well, let's buy a camera. So we'll get like a real deal camera. And
we didn't spend a lot of money. So we bought a video
like this
blogging, podcasting camera. And so we thought we were good to go with that today. And when we got to where we were going to shoot from, realized that the battery was not fully charged yet.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of rushing through, and we just didn't want to have to rush through.
It wasn't the quality that you guys expect from us.
Right. The high-tech stuff we're bringing you every week.
Which is, the thing about it is that we plugged the battery in, and I was like, oh, the symbol shows it fully charged. I'm like, great. And then when we started recording, it quickly went to like flashing red.
Like I said, it's not a really expensive camera.
Yeah.
I don't know if we like it, and this is how we're going to continue to do our things, just kind of on the go. Maybe we'll invest in a little more of a camera, but right now this is going to do it for us.
Yep.
So we're trying to get, now that summer is here, yay. And I am I'm in rehab for the next 2.5 months, recharging my teaching batteries. We're going to try to get out, on the days Kevin has off and just shoot from some different locations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on location, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. On location shooting. So anyway, that's coming up. Hopefully by next week, we'll have some of those kinks worked out. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this past week, our highlight of the week, it was Kevin's birthday on Tuesday. So happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. You made it an awesome birthday as always.
I worked.
But still, it was an awesome birthday. You make every day great. So, anyway, I am 47. So, there's that.
You said that without much hesitation. Usually he has to think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the fourth time.
This is the fourth time we've done it. So, got a lot of love from Facebook, and I got some text messages from people, and I got a butt dial call from my brother, but it still counts, so that's good. Went out to breakfast with my mother and father-in-law, which was real good. Then we went to dinner at Cracker Barrel because I had a hankering for fried chicken.
So where we live, there's this place, if you're in the Virginia Beach area, you know them, the Pollard's, that has been serving really great fried chicken for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, it is really good. But they still don't have seating. So
they're a fast food chicken place, so the seating is less, not where you really want to go on your birthday.
Yeah.
So I discovered another chicken place that's a bit farther away from us, and we were like, oh, we'll give that place a try, but they are only drive-through right now. They're not doing any in the store seating. So we didn't want to get it and then drive it the 40 minutes or whatever it would have taken us to get home.
Because I like fresh, hot chicken. That's how I like my chicken.
I can eat fried chicken cold.
Yeah.
Kevin cannot do that. It doesn't agree with him.
Yeah. Sometimes I have real deal issues that I'm not going to get into because,
it's not good.
It's not good. It's not good at all.
Yeah. So we went to Cracker Barrel so Kevin could get chicken, and we've Not done too many restaurants for dinner. We've done breakfast places since the pandemic's kind of, things are starting to reopening.
The other place, Cooper's Hawk, but we haven't gone anywhere.
Oh, yeah. But restaurants are still just recovering. They're in recovery mode too.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't the best, it was a Cracker Barrel experience anyway, but and the food was good. It was good Cracker Barrel quality food, but
they couldn't open full capacity. They just didn't have enough staff to open full capacity. They have the go ahead, the powers that be have given the go ahead. You can open it all up now, but they just don't have the people.
Yeah.
So
just trying to still get people to come back to work.
So we were cramped in one little section. They had one, Cracker Barrel was laid out in like 3 sections, and they just had everybody in one little cramped section.
Yeah. So I mean, it was not terrible, but
yeah. So
and Kevin got some new graphic T-shirts. Yep. He lives pretty much in his graphic tees.
Punisher, y'all.
So since he works from home, it doesn't really have to, dress to impress.
Yeah.
He's on the phones. So
a lot of Marvel. I got a really cool Jaws shirt, the classic movie poster. I actually had one like that before, but it's all faded and whatnot. So I just got a refresh on it. It's awesome. And then there was another non-Marvel one.
Spider-Man. No, you got Spider-Man, Marvel. You got Punisher, Jaws.
Cap and
the Winter Soldier. Yeah, those were the 4.
And then you got me additional ones.
And then I came home because what happened was on Tuesday it was superhero versus villain day at school, and so I borrowed his Captain America shirt for that day.
Yeah,
and it was the most comfortable T-shirt I've ever.
JCPenney, man, they got good tees. Shout out, go get a shirt from JCPenney. They're not terribly expensive either.
No, well, that's the thing. I came home that day and I was like, gosh, this is so comfortable. It's such a comfort. And I don't like T-shirts because I don't like, usually the necks are real tight, and I'm just not as comfortable in T-shirts. But so I came home and I was like, well, maybe they have some graphic tees I would like to wear. And there were some. I mean, I was stretching it, but I was thinking for the summer, it's just like Looney Tunes and some vintage and MTV and Oscar the Grouch and stuff like that. And then I found some more for him, and they were on sale for $10.
Books. Like there was Ghostbusters and Jurassic Park.
Yeah. So and they were on sale for $10. You can't beat that. Mm-hmm. So that's what we did Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And then for me, the last week of school always coincides with Kevin's birthday. But it's Friday,
a good week as a rule.
Friday was our last day of school, and Kevin had a surprise day off on Friday that he didn't know was coming. So that he had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. It was a great week at school. I really enjoyed being with the kids. And the last day was just like, oh my gosh, I am so ready. I'm so ready. So it was.
Everybody was ready. I could tell.
Yeah, everybody was ready. But we had a nice little end of the year. All those staff went outside and we had a nice little picnic lunch and said goodbye to a lot of people who were leaving. That's the thing about the pandemic. It just made people who teach either want to leave teaching because it was really hard, and more and more and more kept getting put on our plates to the point where we were like, we just can't do anymore. So you either said, like what I did, you were like, you know what, I'm going to do what I can do well. And then the rest of that stuff that I don't deem important is going to the bottom of my to-do list. And that's kind of how I made it through my year. I'll do what I can. That was kind of I'll just do what I can. I borrowed your phrase. We'll make it work. And we did. And I really felt like the kids had a good year. They had a lot of growth, especially in kindergarten. I don't know about other grades, but my little guys did a lot of growing this year. So all in all, I'm glad that one's closed. Moving on to number 23.
Next year should be better though. Easier. Hopefully we won't have like glass shields and mask and everything else to contend with.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They did finally make it so that we didn't have to wear a mask in the building if we were vaccinated, as long as children weren't in the building.
Yeah.
Once the kids came in, we had to put the masks on. But before and after school, we could take the masks off, and it just makes a world of difference.
Well, the vaccine they've got down to it's approved for people that are 12 and over.
Yeah.
And they're doing tests now on 6-year-olds, which, sucks for you because you teach 5-year-olds. But still, uh, it's
If you
progress.
get it down to where the virus isn't spreading,
Yeah,
then we've done our job.
yeah. And kids were
Um,
never a huge danger factor anyway.
no,
They were danger for spreading, but I mean, if everybody's vaccinated, it's not going to matter.
mm,
So
no, we'll see.
yeah,
And then I started today getting up at, to me, it felt like the crack of dawn to go get a COVID test because I'm having a colonoscopy on Wednesday, and they told me I needed to have a negative COVID test. So went and did that, got there to sign in, and the guy was like, have you been vaccinated? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, they just changed the rules. You don't need a COVID test if you've been fully vaccinated. So I whipped out my little vaccine card. No tests and no 5-day quarantine. So
there you go.
Yay. So I at least got some time that,
Got some
I was
time
kind of
back.
looking forward to the quarantine, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, an excuse to tell your mom, no, I'm not going
No,
to
it
the
was like
store.
just an excuse not to have to go out anywhere. Okay. I can deal. I kind of like the quarantine personally.
Yeah.
I'm a homebody, so it didn't
Well,
really
you
affect me all
thrived
that much.
through the quarantine. I mean, because the circumstances where you were doing all the online stuff, you gained a lot of confidence.
I gained a lot of confidence.
The Color Street stuff.
And you know what? I don't know if it's gaining confidence or just not giving a shit what people think anymore.
That's confidence.
Is that
the
what confidence
thing.
is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because here we are doing this podcast. Most folks would think we're crazy for doing it, but here we are.
I don't do it. We're having fun. I do it for
Having
the
fun.
people who watch. Everybody else
There we
can
go.
go take a hike.
Take a hike.
GFOA.
Yep.
So, anyway, that was like the highlight of our week. We didn't, it was a big week.
Yeah. The one thing, and I, this is our fourth attempt, and the first time I did it was just totally off the cuff. But now that we've talked about it,
4 times.
yeah. One of the things that struck me, like I said, I got a lot of Facebook love and calls and texts and whatnot, and I really got to thinking about just the people that were saying happy birthday, and there are people from all walks of life. The country seems to be very divided, and they're it seems like the media and everything else, they just want to divide people by race, creed, color, religion, whatever, political stance, whatever way they can divide you. And what I was noticing is that all of those people, black, white, gay, straight, people that believe vastly different political beliefs than I do, didn't really matter. They took the time out of their day to wish me well-meaning happy birthday. Some people even spent time to customize messages. Specifically for me, I had people do Jaws stuff and Marvel stuff. It was great. It's fantastic. But the point is that I don't. One of the things, and is one of my core beliefs, is you treat people like individuals. You don't treat people like, this is a black guy, or this is a lesbian woman, or this is a Muslim. You treat people like this is Fred or George or Susan or whomever. You treat them as an individual because that's what you like about that person. It doesn't matter what race, creed, religion, whatever belief system they believe. They're not that. That's not them. They are the person that they are to you. How you got to know them. What do you like about them? I like so and so because of this. This person's super helpful and they're funny. That's great. That's why I like them. So treat people like an individual. Stop worrying about what category they fit in, because that's just bullshit anyway. It's not even a real thing. The real thing is what they are as a person. And that's what you like about people. So think about the people in your life. Think about why you like them as individuals, and treat people that you meet as an individual. Don't think about the category they're in, because that's not them. They're not a category. They're a person.
Yeah. Look for the things that connect us as human beings instead of the things that divide us. Because there's a lot more important connections out there.
Yeah.
We can be divided by thousands of different things. You can be divided by your religious beliefs. You can be divided by your body size. You can be divided by your sexuality. Like, there's a million ways people can tear other people apart from each other. And I think what we need to focus on, and Kevin and I really do try to do this. I'm not saying that we're perfect people. We aren't. We make mistakes. No. There are things that you look back and you're like, I really acted like a dope right then. But just look for what you love about people and what's connecting you to that person, and forget all that other crap, because like Kevin said, it's not important.
None of it is.
Like all that other stuff is made up and propagated to pit us against each other. And we're so much stronger if we just find what's the same about us, because you can find something in common. And I'm not saying you have to like every person. You certainly don't. Like, you're going to meet people that you just don't like for whatever reason. Your personalities don't match, or, they cause issues with you, or, whatever.
Yeah.
So you just have to give it an attempt at finding things that connect us.
There you go.
Yeah. It's my new mantra.
Mantras are good.
Yep. So, the golden rule, right? Treat everybody the way you want them to treat you.
Yep.
And I tell my kids this at school all the time, because 5-year-olds are just learning how to coexist with other people and realizing that they're not the center of everybody's world.
Yeah.
It's where a lot of my headaches come from, than thinking they're the only ones in the room. Developmentally, they're not far from that stage, or they're in that stage where everything revolves around them.
Well, yeah, if you think about perspective-wise, because 5-year-olds, they're
waiting on hand and foot by their parents, because that's what,
Probably not until they're in a room with other people that are the center of somebody's world.
Yeah. But I just tell them that there are people you are not going to like, and that's okay. You're not going to like everybody. The trick is treating people like you like them, even if you don't, because you have to be respectful. You don't have to give your time. You don't have to become friends. You don't have to, hang out with them or make phone calls to them or whatever. But when you're with that person because you work together or you're in school together or whatever, just be respectful. It's really so much harder to be disrespectful than to be respectful.
Yeah.
Just be really human to each other, no matter what. I don't care. Just be human. That's what we need. More humanity. So that's what my goal is. I'm just going to bring it.
There you go.
Not at the, here's the other thing too, because you have to keep your own mental well-being in mind as well.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be a doormat.
Nope.
You don't want to get yourself into a situation where you're letting people drive your mental health. Cut that stuff out. You have no room for that. Yeah,
if somebody's bringing you down, then you don't need that person in your life. If somebody's, more, there is a thing about causing more trouble than you're worth. That is a real thing. So if somebody's in your life and, they're, I don't want to say toxic, because I think that's a overused trope.
They say your life is like chapters, and people play roles in different chapters of your life.
Yeah.
And sometimes those chapters have to come to an end, and that's okay too.
That is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
don't do anybody harm. But if you get to a point where you feel like this person is doing me harm, walk away from it. Just walk away. Nothing wrong with walking away. Walk away from crazy. I remember you got that from a
child behavior specialist.
Yeah.
That said sometimes you just have to walk away from crazy.
Just walk away
if that kid is acting like a crazy person at that moment, you can't get through to them anyway. And here's the thing, like that, a lot of that psychology on how to deal with kids that are in crisis or, in the middle of a meltdown applies in other places in your life too.
Mm-hmm.
Like if a kid is in the middle of screaming, I had one at school on Tuesday. He was actively ripping a room apart and could not regain control of himself, just could not. And he's my student, and I have created a bond with him over the last couple of years. And so the people who were with him at the time was like, okay, we need to get Mrs. Rose in here because she's got a way of de-escalating. And sometimes just sitting with him and giving him time and knowing that I'm not there to lecture him or yell at him or, I'm just going to be that person that's to help him get out of that moment. You have to give people that time, but it's not the time for me to talk to him about what he did wrong because he's not ready to hear it.
There you go.
So, and that kind of goes with a grown people too. Like if you're in the middle of something, an argument with a person, now that is just not the time to bring up everything that's ever irritated you about the person, because they're not going to hear it.
Yep.
They're just not going to hear it. Sometimes it's better just to walk away.
There you go.
So anyway, boy, that got deep.
We got some deepness in there
today. We didn't go to that length in any of our other 3 attempts at this.
But we've thought about it 4 times now, so we've talked about it.
Oh my gosh.
This is why we try to do the show live in one time. So when we start thinking about stuff and putting details in it, we're like, oh.
Well, you know. All right, so our next segment is our top 5 of the week. And our top 5 this week is our top 5 favorite TV shows of all time, except for
Impractical Jokers. You all know we love them. And we've talked about it repeatedly ad nauseum on the show. Go back and watch the old episodes. We talk about them just about every show. So they're not on our list this week. You know they are, but we're for our purposes today, they're not on the list. So come back in just a minute, and there you go. You're going to see our list.
All right, we'll be back.
We'll be back. And we're back.
It's almost like every time. It's almost like we never left.
Yeah.
This is our top 5.
There we go.
Of the week. Yeah. Check it out. Now I got hand motions and everything, like just stepping up our game.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, the first time we did this, we didn't know each other's top 5. Now we do. So sorry, folks. This is.
We're not surprising each other with our information here. So, we could have changed our top 5, but why?
Yeah. I mean, this is actually, I think, one of those things that people should know. You learn a lot about people by their favorite stuff. I've always said that, I base people's judgment of movies on how they feel about Jaws. And
people are going to
do that.
No, that's true. People are going to judge me a lot by a lot of my top 5.
Yeah. And then, you know what? If you're going to judge us harshly, then GFY. There you go.
Okay. So I'll let you start.
All right. So as she knows,
this time, right?
Yeah. We're going to go 1 to 5 or 5 down to 1.
We're going to go 5 up to 1.
Yeah. 5 up to 1. Okay. So number 5 for me is Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It's a cartoon that was out a while back. It's on Disney Plus now. In my estimation, it's the best Marvel TV show ever, including the stuff they're doing now, which their new stuff is great. The Winter Soldier, Falcon, WandaVision, all that's great. But Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Avengers, the cartoon, was just a well-written story. It came out just after the first Avengers movie, but they were true to the original comic books, like the original Stan Lee books that had the original 5. It was Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Wasp, and Ant-Man. And that's how they started the series. And Loki ended up being the first villain, which he was in the comic books. They did a great homage to those old classic Avengers stories, and then got into worked in the newer stories, which are really good. It's just really well written stuff and good voice work. It's funny. It was a lot of action. It's great cartoon. Check it out on Disney Plus.
You talk about those things, those Marvel and the cartoon stuff, and it is just like way over.
Yeah.
You'd think after all the years of being married to you. I mean, I recognize the character names.
Mm-hmm.
But you just surprised me with all
it's
your
just
details.
those things. I grew up with them. Like ever since I was a kid, I remember walking to 7-Eleven, which was a mile away from the house, and on 58 when I was like 7 years old, walking along the highway. Yeah, that's how I grew up. Going to pick up comic books, and it was a lot of Marvel, some DC. And it's just how I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
When Stan Lee died, I don't really, celebrity deaths are like, no, this person died. That's sad. When Stan Lee died, it was a gut punch to me because I knew it was coming. But, the saddest thing ever was that first Marvel movie where Stan Lee's not going to show up. That was tough. And that was the Spider-Man Far From Home. It was tough.
Oh.
So.
Well, okay. My number 5. So one of the things you're going to learn about me through this top 5 is that I like reality TV. I like trash TV. I have a lot of guilty pleasures with a lot of reality television.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really get into like the Housewives and that, kind of. I don't like The Bachelor just because I think they portray women really poorly on that show. Do. And I just can't. I personally can't take that.
There's a level of trash she's willing to put up with, and that's well below the level of trash.
Well, you know what the difference is? Okay, so I'm like thinking about how women are portrayed in my number 5 isn't great either, but they're not competing for a man's attention. And I think that's what bothers me about The Bachelor.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my top 5, my number 5 is Dance Moms. I just became a little bit addicted to watching Dance Moms, and I can't explain why. I was never a dancer. I never took a dance class as a kid, but I guess it's maybe the teaching aspect I connected to because
maybe, yeah.
The girls were young when I first started watching it, and the instructor was a straight bitch.
Yeah.
But she had a really good dance program that people wanted to be in because she created really great dancers.
Buku money to have their kids in this thing.
And she wasn't easy on the kids. I mean, she's kind of a horrible person, to be honest. She was not always nice to the kids. But I think what drew me in, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this teacher is terrible. And then you start watching and you're like, wait a minute, it's the moms that are really terrible.
Yeah, the moms there's no redeeming.
Oh my
moms.
gosh, just
people.
Crazy stuff that would happen. How catty these women were to each other. How horrible they treated her. They hated the dance teacher. And she was really doing what she thought was best to make these girls really good dancers. But they paid her buku bucks to do it. So
yeah,
remove your kid from the dance studio if you're that unhappy.
Yeah.
You want to be on TV and you want to make the money, so you're putting your kid in this situation.
Yep.
It was just trash TV for me. It was mindless. That's what I really kind of...
Yeah, because you got a high stress job.
That's kind of my TV thing lately, is I just needed something I can tune out, come in and out of. So for me, number 5 was Dance Moms. Not on anymore, but
yeah,
it was my relaxing. She's out of jail. As soon as she got out of jail, she got cancer and didn't do well with that. And she lost her ability to walk and that kind of stuff. So she's like rehabbing her way back. I don't know if her dance studio is still open or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But I mean, I liked the show because it was a mindless way to just relax.
There you go. So. And then my number 4, Batman, the animated series from back in the 90s. Yeah. Well, that, to my estimation, is the best cartoon of all time for sure. And one of the best TV shows. It was just, again, very well written. It was innovative animation. They did everything, like all animation before that show was done on white or whatever paper. And the guy who directed it was like, you know what, we're going to do something different. We want this to be very dark because Batman's a dark character. They did everything on black paper and then lightened it up. And it really, just watch it. It's on HBO Max. They do real good story work with particularly the Bat villains. I love Marvel. That's always going to be my number 1. But the Bat villains are really the best villains in comicdom. Spider-Man's got good villains. Marvel's like the best villain of all time is Doctor Doom, but the Bat villains are just spectacular. Most of them don't have real superpowers. They're just nutty. They're just in the head, but just really good stories and well-written dialogue. Kevin Conroy is Batman, the Batman. There's no better Batman. You can fight me on this if you want, but you'll lose. He is the Batman. In every medium, he is the Batman. So there you go.
No shock.
No shock.
I didn't know about the drawing on the white paper and the dark paper.
Yeah, that was innovative stuff. It was fantastic, but it was, yeah.
Okay. My number 4 is a little bit unusual because it had 2 seasons. The second season was not good. I watched like 2 episodes and then I couldn't do it anymore. But the first season was probably the funniest season of television I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
It was a show called Trial and Error. It had John Lithgow in it. I don't know where you can watch it. I was gonna Google where can I watch Trial and Error.
Yeah, it's not on Peacock, which is their network, but maybe.
Oh my gosh, it was a spoof on the murder documentary called The Staircase.
Yeah, it's based on a real murder,
which is on Netflix. Is The Staircase?
Staircase is on Netflix.
Yeah. Man and his wife are outside at their pool or whatever. The wife says she's going in to go to sleep. She goes in. When he goes in a little later, she's lying dead at the bottom of the staircase. And so the murder mystery begins. Yeah. And so did he kill her? Was somebody in the house? Did somebody else kill her? Trial and Error, though, was a spoof on that. It was a comedy, and it was laugh out loud funny.
Oh yeah, all the characters were great.
The characters were hilarious.
John Lithgow was brilliant.
The situations were hilarious. Even things like just stuff that you'd see in the background, it was so funny. And then the second season, John Lithgow played the husband, so that was on trial for murder. The second season followed a different story, and it just wasn't as funny. No. They really needed John Lithgow because
he kind of
made that whole show. But
it was hilarious.
If you can find it anywhere, definitely watch season 1. It was the funniest.
Murder. we still use that.
We have adopted some of the phrases from that one season of that show.
Go Packers!
You should tune it if you can find it somewhere. Tune in and watch it. It's really funny.
Definitely.
That's my number 4.
Yeah. My number 3 is Columbo, because when I was a kid, I watched Columbo for whatever reason, and he's the original defective detective. It was just always great to watch, to see the killer of the week. You always saw the murderer. You always knew who did it. But how was Columbo going to get this guy? Because there was a couple where he's like, oh, this is how Columbo's going to get him. And then Columbo brings it up. The guy just blows it off like it's nothing. Jesus Christ, how's Columbo going to get him? And he always gets him because it's great.
Because he's Columbo.
But there, some of the guest star murderers were like big name actors: Leonard Nimoy, Shatner, Robert Culp, Sean Cassidy. Played the murderer like 4 times. Not Sean.
David Cassidy.
David Cassidy. No, the father. It wasn't David Cassidy. God damn, I can't. It was Cassidy. His last name's Cassidy. I can't remember his first name, but anyway, it was just, my favorite though murderer was, he only did it once, was Dick Van Dyke, and it was amazing to watch Dick Van Dyke. The Dick Van Dyke Show, the whole bit. He murders his wife because his wife is such a nag. He's a photographer. He wants to get rid of his wife. So he basically fakes a kidnapping. And just as he's getting ready to shoot her, she's like, you'll never get away with this. They're going to know you didn't. He goes, they might, but not if this all works. They won't. But if they do, I don't care. I just can't live with you anymore. He shoots her. It's fantastic. I watch the Murder Channel all the time. It's like, it's never that. I should
be very concerned that you find so much humor in that man killing his wife.
Dick Van Dyke killing his wife.
I get it, but like, you took a lot of glee in the fact that he shot his wife.
Dick Van Dyke's this squeaky clean guy for the last 80 years. As long as Dick Van Dyke's been around, he's played the upbeat comedy relief, and he's off his wife. It was fantastic. Getting frustrated, getting pissed at Columbo, just pissed. It was great.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Love it. It's on Peacock.
I know Columbo well because you binge watched it
several times.
Yeah. My number 3 goes back to my reality TV competition shows. So I am a Survivor fan. My number 3 is Survivor. Probably have only missed a couple seasons of Survivor. I just like getting to see how characters like piece together alliances, and I really like it when they pull off the big shocker.
Yeah.
And that came with a season, and Kevin remembers all the details of things like this, but I don't. The guy created his own fake immunity idol.
The first guy to do it was a guy named, we called him Professor Bob. He's a brilliant guy. But he made a fake idol that was better than the stuff they were using at the time. It was amazing. They had to up their game because this guy's fake idol was 10 times better than the shit they were using.
And then he convinced one of the guys they all hated that it was a real immunity idol. He was going to give it to him so that he could save himself at
the tribal council.
At the tribal council. Boy, God, I'm tired tonight, so my words aren't coming to me.
So as he's got this idol, he thinks he's bulletproof. He starts being a total dick to everybody, thinking you're definitely going to want to vote me out, but I can get out whoever I want because you guys all vote for me because I'm being a dick. And so he comes the time, he whips it out, he's handing it up, he's all happy, hands it to Jeff Probst. Probst's like, this is not an idol. Throws it in the fire, which is a shame because, like I said, this thing's built like it's beautiful.
It was one of the best moments ever because you knew it was coming.
And the guy was like,
But I like Survivor.
Yeah,
it's a good show.
Yeah, because there's tons of times where we just sit there dumbfounded as to what just happened.
Back in the beginning seasons, it was better because I felt like people really
had
to survive out in the wild.
Yeah.
Now they're fed and they're like there's. The first couple seasons, and I'm remembering like Australia where they were like
catching on fire,
I mean, losing weight. They couldn't eat. And so it was, but now, there's a lot of people right off camera probably handing them a cheeseburger, but I think the strategy part of it is still good for me.
Yeah. So. And no one gets hurt unless your dad says something about him nice.
That's true. Dad starts to root for him. They're done. That was the other thing. Dad's like, first episode of I don't know what season. They're all coming in on the boat and they have to jump off the boat and collect their gear and whatever, and then make it back to the beach and set up camp. And you're watching all these people and you really don't know much about them, but Dad's like, I like the baseball player. I'm calling it for the baseball player. It wasn't even 30 seconds later that the baseball player jumps off the boat and gets his leg caught in the ropes and nearly tears his leg off.
It was amazing.
And we were like, Dad, stop rooting for people because it's like a death sentence to them.
And then there was a guy who was actually on another show, and he came in, and this guy's a true, real deal athlete. They call him Cowboy because he was a Marine, but he was, from Texas. He's a cowboy. He's a cowboy hat and all that. But this kid's like a real deal athlete. And they were doing some brutal competition. It was hot, and they don't do these brutal competitions like they used to because of this.
And Dad didn't really like this guy. And then through this like competition they were doing, that's another thing they have eased up on the physicality of the.
It's a lot more puzzles and
it's a lot more puzzles, not as much physical contact with people. But Dad was never really a big fan of this guy.
No,
and he's. Throughout this competition that we were watching that episode, Dad's like, I don't know, this guy might do it. He might be the one to go all the way. And he like falls out from heat stroke. Same episode. They have to helicopter him off the island. He almost died. Really, Dad, you have to stop.
Shut up, old man.
we don't even let him make a judgment on anybody. Or we'll ask him to root for the ones that we really don't like because they'll be out.
Yeah.
So anyway, Survivor. This is my number 3.
Yeah.
Coming back, I think. In the
number 2. Number 2 for me is a twofer because they used to come on back to back, but Monk and Psych, which was on USA Network way in the day, and they kind of followed the format of Sherlock Holmes. They're both based off Sherlock Holmes. But Monk I love a lot because for whatever reason the defective detective, I get that. The OCD, the relationship with his nurse and the captain and the cop, and it was just really good television,
funny
and funny. And Psych was just laugh out loud funny. There was always hilarious moments in there that they would just do something seemingly random or say something. It was just hilarious.
Remember the episode where they were at the girls' sorority?
Oh my God!
It was apparently haunted, and the lights went out, and you see them like running out to their
car. They were screaming to run out to the car. It was so funny. That's just to me good television. And the mystery's pretty good. I like TV mystery shows.
I mean, they weren't really hard to solve mysteries. It was
not really, but just fun to watch.
It was fun to watch. That was a great show.
I think they were just really good characters. And Sherlock Holmes stuff, they stick with that kind of setup. But the amazingly observant detectives, they were both that.
Monk was another one I remember you endlessly binge watching.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, I cannot sit through another episode of Monk. But Kevin's like, but I can. Yeah. All right. So my number 2, again, reality TV. I am a Big Brother fan. I like the CBS reality shows.
Yeah. Good job.
I've been a Big Brother fan since season 1. Again, there's only been a couple seasons I haven't really gotten into. And it's so, I mean, for a few years there, it was really competitive with us because as a family, we would all draw names and those would be the people on our team. And as people got evicted, we would owe each other bottles of wine or whatever. And so I just love it's you know what it is about Big Brother? It's every person is cast as a type. So when they cast Big Brother, they have to have like the athlete, they have to have the nerd, they have to have the unique personality, the one, the quirky person. They have to have one of every type of person.
Yeah.
And so immediately when you start watching the show, you do what human beings do. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this. You put people in those roles, like they are this person, they are that person. As you get to know them, though, and you see them more as people, you start realizing people are more than just what they are cast as.
They're more than their category.
Yeah. And so it's always fun to see how they interact with each other and the alliances, again, that they build and how they can pull the wool over on people and surprise and turn things around. And and the competitions are just funny. Like, it's just fun to watch. They had an online season, like the year there was the writers' strike. So they did like an online version. It was not very good, but had one of the very best evictions we've seen.
It was great.
The guy's name was Cornbread. He went by the name Cornbread. And they voted him out without him knowing. Like, he thought he was like king of the hill, and they voted him out.
Well, that was one of the problems with the shows. Like, they were evicting people. Like, they would not even be on the block, and next thing you know, they're on the block, and then they're voted out.
Yeah, I mean, they were trying to get through it quick.
Poor strategy.
Yeah, the strategy wasn't. Anyway, it wasn't great, but because it was online and not on air,
there was no censors.
There was no censors, and so his speech at eviction was just great.
Yeah.
They're much more censored on regular TV. So, but we get like the 24/7 feeds where you can like go in and watch during competitions. Sometimes they'll show you the competition, you're watching it live, or you get to watch like conversations and things happen. So yeah, it's just interesting. It's something fun to do over the summer.
Sometimes you get to see, and this was more with the earlier seasons. They were, they don't have TV, they don't have books or anything.
Yeah,
they would just start playing silly games with each other.
Yeah,
one time they were like playing Duck Duck Goose. It was crazy.
Yeah, they have no contact with the outside world. The most interesting season of that was when September 11th happened, and the people who were in, because they don't get any news from the outside while they're in there. But one of the castmates on that season had a cousin who was in the World Trade Center and died in the building collapse. So they let them know what was happening and gave her the option to leave. That was interesting to see because, you go in and you're in there, hopefully they're in there for 3 months. And you come out and sometimes like the world changed while they were in there. Yeah. So
very much so.
Yeah. It's interesting. Anyway, it's a good way to spend the summer. Mindless television. I'm all about it. Bring it on. All right.
So my number one all time, and this will always be my all time number one, and it's Quantum Leap. It's just a great show. It's sci-fi, it's drama, it's funny. Just the two main characters, Al and Sam, were just great to watch. I love watching every week. Great stories. It was never the same thing twice.
You're kind of a history buff, and they would go back to historical time.
The premise is that the scientists figured out that you could time travel within your own lifetime. So if he wasn't going like back into ancient history. He was born in the 50s, and then up into at that point the 90s. Anywhere in between he could go. So
he never went back before his own birth.
Just once.
Okay.
They figured out because he leaked into his great grandfather, so he was in Civil War.
Wasn't he in the a Wild West at one point?
No, well, there was a time where they were just in the West, but it was just like Oklahoma somewhere. It was just not
I never realized that he couldn't go back before his own birth.
No, it couldn't go back before his own birth. Yeah. But it's just real good. Dialogue's good. Probably couldn't make it now because the Al was a very sexist guy. Can't pull that off anymore. But anyway, it's a great show. It's not streaming anywhere that I can find. But it's just really good television. It was the best. Had the worst ending though. They were told that they were going to probably get a 5th season. But right at the end of it, they're like, "Sorry, I can't give you another season." So they had to toss together a finale, and it was just horrible, just bad. But everything up until the finale episode is just good television. Watch it if you can. It's fantastic.
So my number one show of all time started off as a show I said I would never watch. And Kevin and my brother were really into it. Mm-hmm. And I listened, but rarely watched because of the amount of gore in the show. And that's The Walking Dead. I am not a horror fan at all. I don't like horror movies. I don't like gory movies. I don't like zombie movies. It's just not my thing. And, so Kevin would have it on and I'd kind of have an ear to it, but not really paying attention. And then there was an episode where I had kind of started to learn a little bit about the characters just from osmosis, from sitting in the room with you while you watched. And they were in the prison and Herschel, who was one of the main characters at the time, got bit by a walker. And I remember going, oh no,
because the moral compasses on that show would always
they don't do well.
Yeah.
But I mean, just from kind of like, oh, Herschel, and Kevin's like, well, the only way out of that is to chop his leg off. And I'm like, oh, he's a dead man. And then nope, they just chopped his leg off right then. I was like, holy crap. I can't watch the show.
Brutally. It was no anesthesia. They had to do it.
But I think I started kind of following it then because I'm like, God, they just did that on national television. They should put that on television, And started really kind of learning a little bit about the characters and was kind of half into it. And then this, what season was it in? The Grove episode.
Season 4. Yeah, I think season 4.
Was an episode called The Grove that I was a pretty good fan of The Walking Dead by that time, but The Grove really cemented me as a lifelong fan of The Walking Dead. It's really
one of the best episodes of television.
One of the hardest episodes to watch.
Yeah.
It was not an enjoyable episode. I'll just say it that way.
Yeah.
Because Carol, who's resident badass of The Walking Dead, who's probably had the biggest journey as a character. Yeah. And that's what the story became. It became about these characters that kind of came together. And you learn it's not really about the walkers anymore. It's about the people and how they're surviving and their relationships, and they become like family with each other. And so there's this woman, Carol, who had been ostracized by the group because she had kind of a hardcore line.
Yeah.
And she ended up with these 2 little girls. And who was the other one with her?
Oh,
Tyrone?
No, Tyrese.
Tyrese. So Tyrese and Carol and the 2 little girls. And they were the whole cast had been split up. And they were trying to find their way back to each other. And one of the little girls was not right in the head. So she thought that that the walkers still had some semblance of who they were souls before. And that you could get through to them. And she wanted to prove that by killing her little sister, keeping her as a walker. Which she did in that episode. It was awful. And Carol solved that problem by taking the little girl out to the Grove and telling her to look at the flowers, and she killed her. And I'll never forget the end of the episode. It ended and Kevin and I were just stunned.
It was crazy.
I was like, I have never had that much of an emotional response to a television program ever. And that is when I was like, oh, okay, this is.
Thank God they have a companion show they call Talking Dead. And most of the time they're just interviewing cast members talking about this time even Chris Hardwick is hilarious. Gets on, he was like, all right, everybody, we're gonna need some therapy after this.
This is
your therapy session. And it was
it really was.
It was crazy.
A heart-wrenching episode. But I realized how invested I had become in these characters. And now, I mean, we lost it a little bit over the pandemic, and it was declining even before that. Like, it's ready to come to an end. I'm ready for them to end it. But it will always stay as my number one.
Yeah.
I have such a connection. And we've even visited Sonoy, Georgia, where they film. And we've seen the windmill, and we've seen the burned out church and the gate.
If you ever get a chance, go. First of all, the town itself is just
the town is pretty cool. It's a nice little town. Best coffee in that one little shop. We were hoping to see some of the cast members in there.
And then
Nick and Norman's. We went to his restaurant, and I was in the bathroom like, oh my God, Norman Reedus has been in this bathroom. But yeah, and it just will always be my favorite. And not something I would ever watch, or probably.
And that would have been in my top 5 too, but I knew she was going to talk about it. So.
Couldn't double up.
Yeah.
If you had to choose between that and Quantum Leap, Quantum Leap always. Okay.
That's always going to be my number one. I had a few honorable mentions, but Quantum Leap is always going to be my number one. It's just, I love that show. I can't even tell.
Quantum Leap or Impractical Jokers?
I love Impractical Jokers.
Two different styles of TV.
Different styles
of TV.
That's true.
That's true. All right, y'all. So that is our top 5. Boy, that took a while, huh?
That did take a while.
See, this is why we came back and did this here, because we were rushing through it when we were on there before.
Yeah, we did this much better. Next week we'll be traveling, trying to do new stuff. But this is for you guys. We want you guys to enjoy the show. So we were putting out something that just wasn't.
I know. I stopped us in the middle of the top 5, and I'm like, no, we got to go home and do this just for real, because we're rushing through because this red battery light's blinking at us and it's crap. So
we're going to get it worked out. We're going to work out our issues, get this on the road. But we want to give you guys a quality show. So we're going to say goodbye for the week. We hope you guys have a great week. All my teacher friends out there, enjoy your first week of vacation. We will be back next Friday night with our first July episode. Yeah. And stay tuned for our one last thing, which is our TikTok video of the week. Kevin found the perfect video to explain how I got out of this last school year. And when you see it, you will understand. So until then, we'll see you guys later. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.